What's up everyone, welcome back to the studio. Today, I'm gonna be showing you how I do custom work overseas to make products like these mesh shorts that I recently got, because a lot of us know how to do heat pressing and embroidery in the States, but making apparel overseas might be a question that you've had in the back of your head. So without further delay, let's get right into it. All right, we got the box right here. We just got this fresh from UPS and I've been waiting to make this video so I can finally open it and see what's good. I'm hoping everything looks fine. Obviously, I ran a sample and I approved it, so there is some sort of reassurance that it should be fine, but you never really know until you get it. This shipment came from Vietnam. It's one of my new vendors that I found on Instagram, actually. If you want to check them out, I'll leave the name of their company somewhere on the screen, but let's get this opened. So we got this here, and then we got this here, which I think is the other style. So let's open this up on the table and see what it looks like. All right, we're at the official showcase table. So these are mesh shorts, all cut and sew, meaning that it was made custom from scratch. Here's the first one. Ooh, so this is the house logo spray paint effect that I did. So, all right, looks pretty good. I got the hit on the side so that when you wear it, it wraps around your quad area. And then we got embroidery here. So we got embroidery hit, sublimation, and then we got custom label here with the wash instructions, sizing, my logo, because branding is obviously important. And then we have two pockets. Yeah, so there's a zipper right here. So cool, this one looks good. I actually just found something good to point out. So I just opened this bag, right? And then there's like this strange stain here. I thought it was like a piece of thread, but I can't get it off. So it's good to check what you got, because if you're paying, per piece, you better get a refund or credit for something like this, because now I can't sell it at full price. So it's good to go through what you get just to make sure that you're doing the QA/QC and ensure that you're not getting screwed over. So yeah, I'll have to report this to the manufacturer. Here's a quick fit check of the design, so I can make sure it's good. But yeah, super stoked on the design. At least it looks good. Embroidery looks good. This is a large, and you can see that it goes right over the knee, or right above the knee, sorry. So yeah, I like this fit because I don't like shorts that are super low or super high, and I think this is perfect for my demographic. So yeah, we got the house logo here. So let's try and find that other one so you guys can see the close-up. All right, I was able to find the second one, so let's take a look. Oh, there it is. The Tri-House returns. But the difference is, this time I used my own photo that I took in Japan, and I took a picture of the landscape and I did a clip-in mask, did some extra layering and added some drop shadow. And yeah, we got this design. So looks pretty freaking good. Next, let's just talk about the logistical stuff. So tech packs, communication, the cost, payments, and samples and lead times. I just realized this, but before I even talk about tech packs, let's first talk about if cut and sew is even worth it for you to check out. So a lot of people get excited when they find out they can make custom pieces overseas, and you find out that the unit costs are a lot lower if you go overseas. But there's one caveat. Usually the MOQs are significantly higher, so even though the per unit cost might be lower, you're still dropping a lot more on the PO to make this happen. And I think a lot of people want to go the cut and sew route to be unique and different, but to be honest, if you've never sewed clothing before, I would 100% not recommend you to go down this route, because one, you don't even know if you can sell stuff. And a lot of people have a lot of confidence, but when you actually get to it, it's a whole different challenge, let me tell you that. So just be wary of how you're gonna get started, because if you're just starting off, use blanks. There are so many good domestic suppliers, especially in the US, like AS Color, LA Apparel, Made, who else? SS Activewear has a lot. So that being said, do your research and get your samples and pick the blanks, because there are so many good options out there that didn't exist years ago. So I would highly recommend going through LA Apparel, because I really like their shirts. Like this is from LA Apparel. And also I like Made for their hoodies. AS Color has a great range of everything. So those are my top three I'll recommend. So make sure you go check them out. You do need a wholesale license, so if you need to figure that out, make sure you know how to do that. And if not, there are videos on YouTube that go over that. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. is just make sure that you know what you're doing before you go cut and sew, because the cost is gonna add up really fast. And if you can't sell, then you're gonna be stuck with a bunch of pieces that are just gonna sit in your apartment or your house. So keep that in mind. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the tech packs. So a tech pack is used for you to communicate with your vendor how you want something made. Most of the time, people start from scratch and have their own patterns. Or how I do it is I usually grab something that already exists and then I modify it. And this is because I don't have formal training in fashion design. I just kind of learned as I went at my previous job. And for the most part, a lot of us are just kind of making basic stuff anyway. So you don't need crazy specific tech packs where it calls out every zipper, every stitching location. You don't need that for the most part. If you're just gonna be doing custom mesh shorts, like relatively generic jackets that aren't crazy technical, or even jerseys, a lot of people already know how to make that overseas. So it's just about communicating the design specs, the sizing, and also any colors. So using Pantones or color matching that the vendor might have for you to make sure that you get the colors you want. And those are kind of the categories that you want to keep in mind, is the sizing, the colors, and the general aesthetic of the garment, and also the finishings. So on top of that, you also want to keep in mind of how you want the design to be done. So do you want this embroidered? Do you want this to be 2D or 3D embroidery? Do you want this screen printed, DTG, DTF? Like, you have to call these things out on the tech pack. So I'm just gonna show you my tech pack. It's nothing crazy, especially for this project, because I've ran mesh shorts with them last year. So it's pretty watered down, but I'm just gonna show you, like, this is all it really takes to make some custom clothing, as long as the vendor knows what you're talking about. All right, so here's my tech pack. Again, it's nothing crazy, but I have the mock-up, the embroidery call out, some color stuff, tags, and also a sizing chart. So essentially this is all you really need, because this, I think I got this from either AS Color or Made, and I just mocked it up on my own so that I can show the vendor what it's supposed to look like when it's done. And as you all see on the actual product, it looks pretty much spot on. And I also have a reference here. This was before I changed the design, because they actually can't sublimate over the seams, because they said that it's gonna leave a weird double effect. So that's why the design changed a little bit. But basically, this is like kind of all you need to get started. Again, this is not a professional tech pack. This is like a tech pack that you use with your buddy kind of thing, where they know what you're talking about. So if I were to submit a proper tech pack to a manufacturer I never worked with, it'll be a lot more specific and a lot more specified. But for this purpose, because I worked with them last year and they know which shorts I use, like, this is all I needed. And this is all done in Illustrator as well as Photoshop. Some of the key things to take away is sizing. So you need to specify how big you want your designs to be. So I wanted my logo to be 1.6 by 1.4, which I measured out on a blank. And then I also called out the Pantone. And you want to use Pantone coated or Pantone uncoated, or something that is very universal, because that way everybody has access to the same swatches. And Pantone is typically the way to go, because everyone knows what Pantone C is. And it's just a way for you to make sure that your colors match with the colors that they're seeing, because every screen is different. Every person sees color slightly differently. So it's a way for you to have a standard of the color, if that makes sense. And then some other stuff is I just called out sublimation. So this is all printed. It's not DTF, DTG, or vinyl or anything. It's sublimated, so it's pressed onto the surface. And that's why it's not like a print. It's like a transfer basically onto the garment that you can't feel. And then flat embroidery. So that's the 2D on the left side. And yeah, that's about it. This is the basic tech pack for this mesh shorts. And I'll also share with you a little bit of file organization. So when you have a project like this, you want to export your artwork. So this is either PNG that is sized. So you can see it's a massive PNG. This one is also probably a huge PNG. Yeah. So you can either export in PNG, or you can keep it in vector form, so your vendor knows that that's the actual artwork. Because sometimes if you work off a project file like this, let's say they take this out, I might forget to flatten it, or it might not be a vector, or something funky might go on. So it's always good to export your assets separately, and then that way your vendor knows that, okay, use these files, don't use what's inside the tech pack. So yeah, that is definitely a pro tip that helps. So yeah, if you're gonna do a tech pack, make sure you export your artwork. Next topic is gonna be the communication. So typically overseas, you use WeChat or WhatsApp to communicate. And depending on who you work with or which country they're in, typically Asia wakes up around 5 p.m. PST. So that's usually when their day starts, and then your day has to continue on until you're done working with them. So I would say that's one of the biggest challenges is the time zone differences. And also if you have another job that you do during the daytime, you're gonna be working at nighttime. So it kind of never ends. And it's unfortunate, but that's just how it's gonna be if you're gonna be doing overseas productions, because the less time you spend between each conversation, the faster you can get to your final product, and the final product will allow you to launch your product and start making profits. So that's just one of the caveats of working overseas, is you do have to stay up late. Like I usually sleep at 2 a.m. so I communicate with them until then, but that helps to streamline getting things done faster because they have all the information that they need. And sometimes there's a lot of back and forth of like them wanting to clarify, oh, where does this go? I want to make sure that the design is what you want. And it's nice that they do that, because some people would just take it and run it, and if it comes out shit, they'll just be like, oh, sorry, that's going to be $150. So it's nice to have vendors that actually care about what you do. And next, let's talk about payments. So I'm just gonna show you a site over here real quick. So this site is called Veeam, and it's a way for you to send money overseas. And I use this one because my old company, we used to use this, and the payment to send stuff overseas is $29 flat, which is a pretty good rate considering that a lot of places you have to pay some sort of conversion fee basically. So if you're spending a lot, 29 bucks is a lot lower than, let's say they want to charge you 5% on your total invoice. So yeah, I use Veeam or I use PayPal. And the thing with PayPal is you got to make sure you use goods and services and not friends and family, because if something goes wrong and they don't ship to you or they ghost you, you're gonna get scammed. So make sure that if you're gonna send money to people overseas, you, one, have a trusty manufacturer. And I know that's really hard because when you first find someone, how do you know if you can trust them, right? So the best way to go about this is ask if they take PayPal, goods and services, so that it guarantees you that you're gonna get your money back if something funky happens. Or if you go through Alibaba, make sure that you pay through their system, because I believe they have like a payment protection, and use your credit card so that you can use your credit card to file a chargeback if anything goes wrong. So once you establish a relationship, then you can use Veeam and you can use PayPal, friends and family, and all this stuff, because that way you already kind of established that connection and you save a little bit of money on the transactions. So don't do that until you build a connection, obviously, but once you get to that point that you're comfortable and you trust them, then you can use ways to save money on sending money overseas. But it does cost a lot, so just keep that in mind. So sometimes if the project is like less than $1,000, I'll just send the full balance at once, because that way I don't have to pay the transaction fee twice. And if it's like a big project, then I don't mind splitting it up, because sending several thousand and waiting for product to come in also kind of sucks. So yeah, just make sure, be smart, do your research, and don't just send money because someone says, oh, a sample is $100. Like, make sure you get all the answers and you can trust them before you send the money. All right, we are back on the tripod. Sorry about the movement. I'm just trying to figure out how to make this more interesting. But the last thing I wanted to talk about is the samples and lead times. So these pair of shorts took about 7 business days to sample, so a week and a half. And I did a photo approval because I already know that the quality of the shorts are good. But if it's your first time working with someone, please sample, please get it in person. Like, don't just approve it overseas, because you're not gonna know what it's gonna feel like or look like once you get it. So I only do this because I know the quality, I know the vendor, this is my second time working with them. So if there was a switch up, it would suck, but at least I have that guarantee that yes, the first one did come out really good. So that being said, don't just approve stuff and send them money. Make sure you get the sample. Yes, it costs $150 about, because typically samples cost around $50 to $100. And then to get it shipped to you in the US, they usually use DHL Express, UPS, like Express International, or another FedEx International, and those are expensive services, but you get your samples within 3 to 4 days, which is very ideal. You don't want to be waiting like 3 weeks to get a sample to have shipped. So that's just part of doing business overseas. Is yes, there's a lot of upfront costs, but once you get it, everything looks good, and you can approve it and you're chilling. And once your sample is approved, then you tell them this is good to go. Now they're gonna match the best that they can to that sample, and they're gonna do a full production run. Full production can take anywhere from 3 to 5 weeks, depending on your vendor. And from that point on, they'll ship it out, and it'll take another week or so for you to get it in hands. So the whole process can take up to like 6 to 8 weeks. So you do have to plan ahead of time, and also just have really good communication with your vendors. So if things are delayed or they can speed things up, make sure that you are in the know so you can plan accordingly with your drop schedule. the way I do this is I usually run in like a 4-week window. So I'll send the tech pack, get it approved in a week, go straight into production, and then on the 3rd week of production, they'll ship it out. So I get it right over a month. And I think that's pretty good for international. But again, this is people I've worked with for years, and that's why they are able to hit these deadlines, because they trust me and I trust them, and it's just something that you have to grow yourself. And I made that video a while back about going to Magic, and that's exactly what you need to do if you want to make vendors. And that's exactly what you need to do if you want to make cool stuff overseas, is you have to meet people in person, because it's so different when you interact with them in person and feel the samples that they have and just build a relationship on a personal level, because going online, you just can't really trust everyone online, and there's always some funny business that happens behind the scenes. So it's always good to go out there, meet people, and establish relationships, and then do business with them. So after watching this video, do you think cut and sew is right for you? Because for the most part, I'm gonna say you should probably wait until you have a brand that is at least off the floor and you're making sales, and then people kind of want custom products, or you're at that point of your business where you're like, I want to try and explore a different option. Because like I said earlier, there are so many great options domestically, like AS Color, LA Apparel. I sound like a broken record, but I just really like these brands because it's really made life easier for people like me. Because before, cut and sew seemed like the only option to make premium stuff, but nowadays, like the hoodies, the tees, even jackets are available. Like Shakaware has some cool jackets. AS Color obviously has some cool jackets, and it just gives you so much more flexibility without having to make 100 units. And that was one thing I didn't really talk about, is MOQ. So typically MOQ can go anywhere from 72 to 144, 300 plus, depending on the manufacturer. Some places you can talk them down to like 50, as long as you don't mind that they bump the prices up. And usually it's not that bad, because yeah, you might pay like $5 extra per unit, but $5 extra on 50 units is $250. So that's not that bad compared to having to order 300 units total, right? So just run your numbers, make sure it makes sense. And my advice is don't do cut and sew until you're ready. And what ready means is dependent on who you are, what your business is doing, but I think you kind of get the gist of what I'm talking about. So that's about it for today. I just wanted to show you all the process of how I do my cut and sew projects overseas, using Adobe Suite for tech packs like Illustrator, Photoshop, using Veeam and PayPal for payments overseas, WhatsApp and WeChat for communication, and also just keeping in mind of the general reason of why you want to do overseas production. So if y'all want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments below, and make sure you subscribe if you want to see more videos from me every week, because I am dropping these kind of videos every single week, as long as I can keep up with the schedule. And I really appreciate every single one of you who watch them, share them, leave comments, give me the thumbs up, even if it's a thumbs down, whatever, at least you watched the video. And if you want to support my business, I do sell my products on iq.shop, like this hat. I just dropped this one today, and I have a bunch of other cool stuff. So if y'all want to support me beyond the YouTube video watching, please do, and I'll sincerely appreciate that. If you want to check out any of the equipment or materials that I use, that's also in the description box below. So all my links are affiliates, and you know the deal with affiliate, I get a kickback, you pay the same amount. So no one's getting hurt here, and it is something that I want to be transparent about, because I don't want you guys to click on something and you didn't know it was an affiliate link. So it is affiliate stuff in my description box, but my web store is my web store where I sell my stuff. So with that being said, thank you all for stopping by, and I'll catch you all next time.